Yeah, that was a big standing O. Joining me now, freshman Democratic Congresswoman Karen Bass. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
So we know this is your first State of the Union since you are a freshman. Tell us a little bit about what it was like to be in there last night. What was the mood?
Well, I think the mood was very exciting. I do believe that people were inspired. It was very interesting sitting on the Republican side of the room, and I think everybody had fun with that, frankly.
The president did, in fact, extend some olive branches to Republicans, saying he'd be willing to do some fixes to health care. He said there are parts of it that aren't working. We'll change it, saying he would veto any bills with earmarks. He didn't, however, talk about gun control. How do you think this is playing with his base? How's it playing with your constituents?
Well, I think it's playing very well. I got a ton of feedback on my Facebook page, and people were excited and felt inspired by what he said. And I thought that there was a nice balance. I mean, he talked about lowering the corporate tax rate, but he also talked about closing loopholes. And so I thought that there was a very appropriate, a very good balance to his speech.
You know, Republicans would tell you that the elephant in the room is the massive debt, and it's got to be dealt with. And people are wondering if they will be willing to go after Social Security, other entitlements. We know what a huge chunk that is. How do you, Congresswoman, freeze spending for 5 years, but then also talk about funding teachers and education and innovation, high-speed rail, and not deal with that?
Well, I think that we have to look at all of it. You know, I'm on the Budget Committee and just left a committee hearing. I think it's important. I think the president was clear that there are going to be deep cuts, but he also said that he wanted to make sure that when we did cut, that we didn't cut ways and hurt the economy.
So what ways do you think that might be? Where do you see areas where you would be willing to make some of those deep cuts, and you think that you can get cooperation from the Republicans?
Well, I have no doubt about the duplication that the president talked about, and he gave several examples of different agencies that handle the same subject area. We need to look at that. He raised the question of defense, and I would like to look at defense as well. I'd like to look internationally at some of the bases that we have in places that I would question whether or not they're strategic anymore. I think that there are ways for the government to be more efficient. I think his overarching theme toward the end of really reforming government overall, I think that in the long run that will produce a lot of savings. So he laid out very big plans, and it'll be very interesting to see the details.
Interesting indeed. Congresswoman Karen Bass, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me on.